Adam Smith presses Hegseth hard. His answer might shock you.
Recognize the ranking member.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on the budget point, I made this point before the committee before. The House just passed a budget that adds nearly $3 trillion to an already out-of-control debt. So if we do really want to spend money on defense or anywhere else, we got to be willing to pay for it. And I this, certainly go back through generations of, bipartisan problems with this. You can't have a debt that size and keep coming back talking about how much money you're going to spend, whether it's defense or whatever your priorities are. And Mr. Secretary, you said the 99% down on border crossings and the border is secure. At the same time, we're going to take $1 billion out of the MILCON budget, out of building barracks, to send it for the border, and there's another 4,000 troops that we're planning on sending down to the border. Given that the border is secure, might you rethink that spending?
Well, sir, we are securing it. It is secure, but it's a manpower-intensive effort at the beginning.
Two different words there. It's either secure or secure, and it sounded to me like you said it was secure.
It is secure.
Okay.
What we're continuing to do is expand that and fortify it through infrastructure, which is a big part of the budget on the Department of Homeland Security side as well. So it's that $1 billion you're talking about was from the CR in FY25. We fully fund that back and more in FY26 with a recognition that we were dealing with the world as it existed when we came in. And the previous administration said they needed new legislation to secure the border. It turns out you just needed a new president.
I would point out
president
that you have
the
not
Defense Department and
submitted,
DHS that was willing to go to the border and actually
have
secure it, which is what we
not submitted a budget yet. So whether or not you're putting that money back in remains to be seen. You have definitely taken it out. And I think the obsession there, and I don't disagree, the border needed to be secure. But from a pure budget standpoint, let's just not keep the political focus on that. Let's make sure that we're funding some of the other priorities that we have. So when it comes back to acquisition reform and the chairman's point, it's our committee, certainly Congress is part of the problem. We set up a lot of requirements. Defense contractors are part of the problem. I'm curious, how would you get after reforming the culture at the Pentagon so that you can move faster, number one, and number two, how would you get after the defense contractors that push the requirements process? And specifically, what would you do about the requirements process to try to speed things up?
Well, first of all, I think gold plating is a real problem, sir. I mean, across the department.
Interesting to use the word gold in this particular context, but yes, I agree with you, actually.
We maybe could use a little bit more silver plating on occasion. A recognition that the 99% solution is oftentimes the enemy of the 85% solution that delivers 2 years sooner. And that's contractors and other companies wanting to do right, but trying to do too much and overpromise, and then they're under-delivering, and the warfighter
not always wanting to do right. In some cases, just wanting to make money, but yes.
The change is also in acquisitions about people. You need reformers in these positions. I'm here to be a disruptor of those processes. Our deputy secretary has extensive business experience. The types of people we're bringing in as undersecretaries have been disruptors and innovators in the private sector who recognize that bureaucracy can be dysfunctional and needs to be disrupted. So it's taking outside-the-box unique approaches. I mean, virtual design is a big example. How many times are we going to build something physically that takes a year to build when you could use AI and computing power, design it virtually, identify the flaws, and move more quickly, or create open architecture so you can move.
Our committee stands ready to work with you.
I mean, there's 500 different things we can do, and we're doing them.
Yeah, and I'm sincerely concerned about this. Is it the policy of the Department of Defense that we need to be prepared to take Greenland and Panama by force if necessary? Is this a policy that you have within the Department of Defense in accordance with the President's wishes?
I heard what you said about those two countries and saying we need to worry about China. Well, we are worried about China.
That wasn't my concern.
China's malign influence in Panama.
I was concerned with us saying that using military force to take another sovereign country's territory.
We should pay attention to that.
Right.
So Panama is very key terrain that we've focused on, and we've been willing to focus
so we
on,
should
as
take it,
is Greenland.
We should take it by military force. They're important. I'm not going to argue with that.
The Arctic is
I'm
incredibly
arguing with
important.
using our military to take it by force.
Our job at the DOD is to have plans.
Do you have a plan for that?
Our job at the Defense Department is to have plans for any particular contingency.
Including the contingency of basically
Any
invading
contingency
Denmark.
you need, we've got it. We've got a building full of planners, and we're prepared to give recommendations whenever needed.
So just be clear, you have plans to take Panama and Greenland by force if necessary.
I think the American people would want the Pentagon to have plans for any particular contingency.
Not
and
for that
thankfully,
one,
we
in my
are in the
opinion.
planning business.
Speaking on behalf of the American people, I don't think the American people voted for President Trump because they were hoping we would invade Greenland. I'm going to go out on a limb on that one. I yield back.
Wow, Adam Smith just went straight for the jugular here, asking Pete Hegseth point blank if the Pentagon actually has a plan to invade Greenland or Panama. And to be clear, this wasn't a joke. This was a serious oversight question about military planning and priorities. Let's break this down, because there's a lot going on here that most people might miss. Smith starts by pointing out the massive federal budget problem, trillions added to the debt, and he uses that to pivot to a crucial point. If we're going to take money out of military construction projects, like building barracks for our troops, just to fund more border deployments, then we better be absolutely sure that's a wise choice. He's basically saying, you can't say the border is already secure, then still justify stripping funds from troop housing to secure it more. Then comes the really striking part. He presses Hegseth on whether the Pentagon has contingency plans to use force in places like Greenland or Panama. And here's where things get interesting. Hegseth doesn't deny it. In fact, he confirms that the Pentagon's job is to have plans for any contingency. And he's right. This is how the Department of Defense operates. They have plans on the shelf for just about every imaginable scenario, from conflicts with near-peer adversaries to sudden natural disasters to, yes, seizing strategic terrain if a crisis demands it. But Smith's real point isn't just about the plans, it's about priorities. He's saying that this kind of thinking, this focus on hypothetical military action, might not reflect what the American people actually want or expect. His line about voters not electing Trump so that we could invade Greenland is cutting, but it highlights a very real debate about whether our defense spending and planning are matching the actual threats we face or chasing distractions. This exchange matters because it forces us to think critically about military planning, fiscal responsibility, and the balance between preparing for every possible scenario versus focusing on what's most urgent today. What do you think? Should the Pentagon be preparing for these kinds of extreme scenarios, or is this a distraction from real issues like troop readiness, housing, and modernization? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more breakdowns of these heated congressional moments, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next one.